All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Alden Report. My name is Michael Alden. We are here in Blue Vase Studios. And yet again, I'm super excited for my next guest. My next guest's name is Cameron Herold. He's a two-time author. He's a business coach. He's a business guru. He's built businesses. He's sold businesses. And, to just tell you a quick story how I found this guy, a good friend of mine, Craig Handley, actually, who we both know, introduced me to Cameron. And I watched one of Cameron's videos, and I was so impressed with the way he speaks, his candor, his ability to kind of break through some things, and I watched it, and since then I've been pestering Cameron to get a hold of him, talk to him, meet with him, learn from him, all this other stuff, and so I'm so excited that he decided to join us on the Alden Report, because again, I think the information he's going to share with us is going to be very, very helpful for all of you that are listening and watching. Cameron, thanks for being my guest.
Hey, Michael, thank you. I love that now I owe a thank you back to Craig Handley as well. He's one of the good guys.
Yeah, I think he's in Vegas right now with his family at a trade show. I saw him posting. He's on Snapchat now. I don't know.
Of course he is.
I think he just got on. Again, so everyone knows that watch this and listen to this, and we have the same list of 10 questions. But real quick, again, the video that I watched of you, which was awesome, and I actually did apply it in my own business, which was you. One of the things that really kind of stuck with me is you told a story about, and I believe it was a good friend of yours that you had to let go. And tell us that story. Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was a guy named Tyler Wright who was amazing, wonderful to work for, super fantastic guy, very early stage with us when we built out 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I was the chief operating officer for that brand. And Tyler was our first PR guy, had worked out in the trucks and had actually worked with a former company of mine, College Pro Painters, as well. But he was a bit of an emotional train wreck after the first couple of years with us, and he just wasn't working and melding into the company the way that we needed him to, as we were becoming more of a professionally managed organization. So culturally, he just didn't fit anymore, even though his results were really strong. And we tried to get him to change and tried to work with him on it, and it wasn't working out. And I had to meet with him to let him go. And I waited too long. I waited probably 6 months too long. And I had a mentor of mine push me and ask me why I hadn't done it yet. And I gave him all the reasons. And he said, "So basically you're chicken." And I said, "Yeah, pretty much." So he said, you've got to let this guy go, but you have to mentor him until he's back on his feet and be there for him until he succeeds again. And so we let Tyler go. He had no debate with it. In fact, he actually knew it was coming, had told his mom 3 months before it was coming. We did mentor Tyler and got him back up and running, but the hard thing was he ended up passing away about 4 years ago, probably 12 years after that incident had happened. And over the years, I got lots of text messages and emails from him saying thank you and love you and hope you're well. But found out 4 years ago that he passed away in a hiking accident. And so a bit of a tragic story at the end, but a wonderful, wonderful person who unfortunately we just waited too long.
Well, what I liked about it, again, is what I really like about you, and again, we'll get into the questions in a second, is that, when I watch you speak, I watched a couple of your other speeches. I believe you've done a TEDx, and I think you said you might even have another one coming up. There are so many guys out there right now, and I'm not sure if you'll agree with me on this, but I think you will. There are so many guys out there, especially with now, anyone could just turn on their phone, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or whatever, that are out there kind of preaching, quote, success principles and how to grow a business, how to make money, and all this other stuff, and they've never done anything ever with as far as growing a business, dealing with the ups and downs, dealing with the true entrepreneurship lifestyle. But not only have you done it, but you're continuing to do it, right? I mean, that's kind of really, I love guys like you that are out there sharing that information, the true entrepreneurs, the true business builders that have done it. Does it frustrate you like it frustrates me that there are guys out there that are pitching information that's just not a reality? Or is it maybe just me being bitter?
It doesn't so much frustrate me from a competitive point of view, because I'm in a totally different sector to where they are, right, and where they're trying to play. It frustrates me for the people that they're trying to help, because people are turning and need help and want help, and they're turning to some of these people who just haven't done it and don't really know how to do it. And like you said, I've not only built 4 or 5 companies on my own or as a partner with companies, but I've coached and mentored close to 100 proven CEOs and companies, including I've coached the CEO and the second in command at Sprint worldwide. I've coached a monarchy in the Middle East. I've coached probably a dozen companies in 4 or 5 countries that rank in the top 5 in their country to work for. So, I've coached 5 companies to significant, 9-figure exits, plus $100 million exits. And so it's hard for me to watch these entrepreneurs that sometimes turn to these people who they might know how to ask lots of good questions, but they don't necessarily know the proper advice to give somebody based on any experience.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because you have someone like you with your experience, your know-how. You've written 2 books. We're going to talk a little bit about your book, Meetings Suck. I love the title, by the way. And it's just, for me, I think it really kind of it hurts people that are out there that are really looking for someone or looking for something. And quite frankly, too, a lot of times, I know that you do a lot of business coaching. You'd mentioned, so a lot of high-level stuff, and but if someone just picked up, your one of your books, I was just reading Meetings Suck just yesterday. I think I sent you a message about it. But I mean, just picking up your book or even any of these books of people that are really out there doing it. That for me is invaluable experience, and it only costs whatever the cost of the book is, right?
Well, they can also tell when they. So I actually have 3 books out now. One just came out last month, but my first book was called Double Double,
yeah.
And it's really the kind of core Bible or textbook that you need to learn how to grow any company, and how to double your revenue, double your profit, and increase the amount of free time you've got in 3 years or less. And it's being used in 26 countries around the world now by real proven entrepreneurial companies and big companies that want to become more entrepreneurial. The second book that you mentioned is called Meetings Suck, and it was really written because a couple of the CEOs that I coached kept complaining about meetings, and I found out in our calls that they'd never had any training on how to run meetings, nor had any of their employees. So I said, well, of course your meetings suck. You don't know what you're doing. Right. It'd be like sending your kid off to play Little League Baseball. If you didn't teach them how to hold a bat and throw the ball and catch a ball, they'd hate baseball. So when you give them the basic skills, they know how to play it, they can have fun. So Meetings Suck was written so that every employee at all companies would read that book, and people are buying it by the hundreds now to pass out to all their employees. And then the third book that just came out last month is called The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs, and I co-authored that book with Hal Elrod, who wrote the original Miracle Morning. And that's really about the morning success habits that you need to be successful as an entrepreneur, and also the rest of the day's success habits you need to grow your company. And we co-authored that book, which came out last month.
Love it, love it. All right, so let's get into the list of questions. Again, we are on with Cameron Herold. He's written multiple books. He's also written a lot of articles that I've read. He's been touted as one of the top business growth gurus in the world. Like you've heard him before. He has coached and worked with some of the top companies again in the world. He worked with Sprint. He's worked with Monarchs. He's done a lot of different things. He's also done some small businesses. You've all probably heard of 1-800-GOT-JUNK and all the different companies that has spawned as well. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So again, we have our list of 10 questions. I sent them to him. He didn't look at them because he said he doesn't want to look at them. He doesn't need them, which is I love. No, he might have looked at them, but he said he doesn't really need them. So first question I love to ask everybody, especially someone like you, again, that has built companies, sold companies, counseled companies, written books, done all these different things. Cameron, how do you define success?
Wow. I wouldn't so much say for me as defining it, as I actually already feel it right now. And I wrote that in my book, Double Double, 6 years ago. When I was born, 2 years after I was born, my grandfather said, with a name like Cameron Gardner Herold, that kid's going to be something someday. And I felt like that was a little bit of a curse for me. I never stopped hearing that comment in the back of my head. And about 6 years ago, when I was writing Double Double and started looking back on the success that I'd had, I started to realize that I was already there, and that almost everything that I build or do from this point on is almost like I'm in bonus time right now. I'm very happily married. I've got 4, amazing kids, 2 kids and 2 stepkids. I'm, living in an amazing home on an estate in Scottsdale, Arizona, with, 2 guest houses and an office building on our property, as well as the home. And I've got, like all the toys I could want, but I have the free time to be able to hang out with my friends and family, and I've got my health. I just ran my first marathon in October. So I think for me, it's I'm already there. It's more of a feeling that I have than a definition. I feel happy because I can compare down versus comparing up. I don't compare against the richest person in the world. I compare against everyone else and look at how much more I have and how fortunate I am and lucky I am. This past weekend, I saw this guy out on a street near us, probably 4 blocks from our home, and he had no shoes on, and I stopped the car and went and picked him up and drove him to 5 different shoe stores to find a pair of big slippers that would fit him because his feet wouldn't fit into shoes. He was an 83-year-old man, and then I spent 2 hours with him, bought him some food, and then I took him to a motel and checked him into a motel so that he could have a shower and a bath. And that for me was probably one of the best days I've had recently, just because I got to connect with another human. So for me, success is a feeling, not a definition.
That's such a great explanation. But let me ask you this: when did that happen for you? When did that click? When did you feel it? Like, all right, I feel it now. I am successful.
It was 6 years ago when I was writing Double Double, and I was starting to write down all of the lessons that I had learned. And maybe even a few years before that, it was maybe when I had left 1-800-GOT-JUNK 10 years ago, and I was writing all of the lessons to my younger self. I wrote about 65 lessons down, the things that I learned, and I realized that, wow, I really knew what I was doing, and I had all of the things that I could want in life. More wasn't necessarily going to make me happy. I was already happy, and I had, these amazing children. And so I think that was probably the period when Double Double was coming out.
That makes a lot of sense. Someone, again, like yourself, who's written books, and again, he speaks all over the world, and counsels companies, built 1-800-GOT-JUNK, built some other businesses, sold them. Obstacles, a lot. We always hear about obstacles and being an entrepreneur, but for you, in your business career, or even in your life, I guess, I get answers all over the place. What has been your biggest professional obstacle, and how did you overcome it?
For me, it was ego. It was my own ego that would get in the way, where I would come off in the wrong way, or it was my own insecurities, where I would come off in the wrong way, trying to kind of counter my insecurities. My ego would counter the fact that I felt incompetent or didn't know what I was doing, or was so overwhelmed with all of these entrepreneurs that were trying to learn from me. So I guess over the years I started to feel a little bit of a quiet confidence. And it's not like me saying like I'm so proud of how humble I am. It's more that I really had to learn how to overcome my own ego and my own insecurities, and realize that I didn't have to be the smartest person in the room. I didn't have to come off as being the smartest person. I had to be there to help the entrepreneurs with what I knew would help them. And the more that I recognized that, wherever I was speaking or who I was coaching or mentoring, that if I could give them some of the shortcuts to help remove some of their pain or obstacles or help fast track their success, that's what I was there for. I wasn't there for me to show off. I was there to really help them. And when I changed that mindset, I think that was pretty big for me. But my own ego and my own insecurities for sure were my biggest stumbling blocks in business.
Is that something that just kind of comes to you at a particular moment in time? You realize, you know what, I need to, do an internal, evaluation or self-check. Was there a moment? Was there an event? Is something that kind of, clicked with you? Like, man, you know what? If I really want to grow, or if I really want to continue to help people, that I need to be more self-aware. Like, what did you do, and how did you know that was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was so much. It was a self-check, but it was. I think I'm very introspective, and I just look at my own contribution to the problem versus blaming other people or blaming outside environments. I think it's too easy to come up with excuses of why something isn't happening, and I naturally look at what I've done wrong that have contributed to the problem. So I think it just probably came a little bit more naturally to me to blame myself than to blame anything else. So I don't think it was so much a process that I went through to try to find that. I wake up in the morning trying to get better, and I wake up in the morning looking at what I can do differently, that I can control. So that's probably where it came from.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we are on with Cameron. We're on with Cameron Herold. He's a 3-time author. He's a business growth expert. If you'd like some more information about Cameron Herold, you can go to CameronHerold.com. Again, he has multiple books out. The Miracle Morning is his latest book. I just started reading Meetings Suck, and I have to pick up Double Double. But again, for those of you who are just joining us right now, I learned about Cameron from a good friend of mine, also in the same business as myself. I've watched and listened to business coaches, and I've had business coaches and business and entrepreneurs on the show multiple times. But what I really like about Cameron, and I really like about a lot of the people that come on the show, is that he's done it, he's doing it, he's continuing to do it, and he's taken the information that he's learned and he's giving it to all the other people out here, so that they can learn from maybe some of his mistakes, but also learn from some of his successes as well. So if you'd like some more information about Cameron Herold, you can just go to CameronHerold.com. He's also on Twitter. He's on Instagram. Are you on Snapchat now? You and I were talking about that. You on Snapchat yet?
I'm not on Snapchat. I will not join Snapchat. This is where Gary B and I differ, and I differ very strategically. My clientele are not engaging on Snapchat. My clientele are 40 to 60-year-old CEOs that are running proven companies. They're probably on Twitter and Facebook. I largely just focus on Facebook and LinkedIn as my focus, but Snapchat you don't have to be everywhere at all times. I just need to be exactly where my clients are.
Yeah, that's a great point. Gary Vee convinced me to go on Snapchat. But so let's talk about education for a second. Is traditional higher education important for business success and business growth? I mean, i.e., post high school.
I don't think post-high school education is successful for humanity. I think for the most part, especially more than ever now, everything you want to learn is available online. Everything you want to learn is available from mentors or from apprenticeships. I would much rather see kids finish high school and go and work at 4 really great companies for 6 months each, unless you're getting into some kind of a truly professional designation like law or medicine. To go and just get a general arts degree or a business degree, I think it's an extraordinary waste of time. And a huge amount of debt that you're coming out with. I think you should be far better off to pick 4 fantastic companies to work for and offer to work for them for free or for minimum wage for 6 months each. You'll come out with great experience, great theory, great practical take-homes, and you'll have had all the interactions with other people your age that are out there working as well. You can have just as much fun as you'll have in university, but you won't have any debt. I think people are very, very short-sighted with the education system, and they don't sit and look for better ways.
Yeah, I've heard that before from some other business professionals, as far as go find a company or find something that you're willing to do and show up there and see if you can get an internship or work for nothing. Are you and you hear the stories of Michael Dell or even Jobs. I think Jobs reached out to Hewlett Packard for parts and things like that, and he was away kind of getting mentored that way. But are you aware of any big companies, Fortune 500 companies that have that type of program? So because I've heard that a lot, and I agree with it. There's a lot of information that's out there on the internet. So I try to put myself in the perspective of a high school student, whether it be in here in the United States or Canada or anywhere in the world. They're graduating, and someone says, well, you know what? If you really want to be successful and you want to do what you want to do, don't go to college, don't get a liberal arts degree, go and find it. What is there? I mean, are there avenues for students to find it? I mean, where do they go?
Well, all kinds of companies are hiring based on, what your experience is and based on, who and based on just getting in the door. And part of it is if you approach these companies in the right way and just offer up your services, they're going to say yes. I'm not familiar at this point of any programs that are formally out there looking for it, but I actually have the format for a TED Talk almost all scoped out right now that is a full kind of challenge for credit program that you get major companies to sponsor and put it in place. I'm not going to tell you all of the details for it right now, but I think there could be I believe that there's going to be a massive, massive change in the way the education system is delivered over the next 20 years.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, we talked a little bit about, your clients, being, the upper level executives, CEOs running, multinational companies. But I want to ask you this question in the perspective of the business of you, as in your brand, Cameron Herold. For you, what is the most effective form of marketing in order to get your brand out there?
Well, for me, it's speaking events. I'm very fortunate that I've been paid to do speaking events now in 28 countries on 5 continents. I'm actually currently working with a group in Buenos Aires. That'll be my 6th continent. So for me, being paid to do speaking to groups of entrepreneurs and CEOs is magic because I'm not paying to do any of that advertising. I'm just there. And then I've also worked really hard to get a lot of media attention and to work well with the media to deliver great content. So, podcasters and bloggers and magazines and TV shows just are kind of scrambling to get some of my learning. So I'm very kind of fortunate with that as well. I don't spend a lot of time or money on paying for advertising. I just have found those 2 outlets to be much better ROI and a lot more fun for me.
Now that's great. Now you hear about speaking and how you can grow your business that way. I saw Grant Cardone post that he said he spoke 11,000 times for free. I think that number. I love Grant, but I think that number might be inflated. But so when you first, if you're someone who's trying to build your business, trying to get out there and speaking, I think you said you had 274 paid gigs. Do you find that, or do you have to go out there and speak a lot for free in order before you get these paid gigs? How does that work?
I did a few free events in the early stages to some of the EO or the YEO chapters,
Yep.
groups of entrepreneurs, and I would go out and speak locally. And then, after doing a few and getting great ratings, I started to charge a little bit, and then, got a speakers bureau. So sure, I mean, if you can get someone to pay you to speak, get them to pay you. But if you're trying to build an audience and you can speak for free, speak for free. So I probably did a 10 to a dozen free events, built some testimonials, got some reviews, got a little bit of video coverage for myself, got some photos, forward those off to more people until I could start to charge for it. And then, every year I raised my speaking fees.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of in that world a little bit myself right now. Stress. When a lot of people start to think about wanting the lifestyle of an entrepreneur, and they see the cars and the houses and the nice things, and they want to live that life, but they don't understand that it's a pretty stressful life as an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning when you're building your business. You had mentioned that you just ran your first marathon, but what do you do outside of the office, outside of work, to handle stress?
Well, stress is a privilege to be enjoyed by those who have earned it, first off. I think it's a bit of a first world problem to say that I'm stressed because I get to run my own company, or I'm stressed because I get to go and deliver value to all these people, or I'm stressed because I get to travel and do, I'm doing 2 speaking events this week, one here in Scottsdale and one in Whistler. So that could be considered stressful, but what a privilege to be able to impact, hundreds of entrepreneurs on those 2 days and get paid for doing so. So I look at it first off as a bit of an opportunity. I don't look at the negative. I just see it as, it's a first world problem. I also look at what are some of the success habits of people that are highly effective, that have done huge things in the past. And those are things like meditation and gratitude journals and, daily physical activity and relaxation. And so one thing I've done that I think a lot of people don't do yet is I don't work nights and I don't work weekends. I've realized that I'm never going to get it all done. I'm never going to catch up. So I don't work after 5:30 at night ever, and I don't work on weekends ever. I mean, I shouldn't say ever. If I'm paid to do a speaking event on a weekend, I say yes if it's the right event, but I don't do work from home on my laptop catching up on weekends or at nights because I won't catch up. Once I get all that stuff done, I'll just set new goals for myself. So I've learned that that's a bit of a lie that we tend to tell ourselves. So I think by putting my work into a box and controlling Parkinson's law, that not allowing my stuff to expand to fill more space, I get more done in less time. I stay more focused. I say no to things that aren't high ROI. I say yes to things that are high ROI. And then at 5:30, I get to go off and enjoy my day. Like yesterday, my wife and I at 5:30 had a glass of wine. We went off and had a really amazing dinner together, and then we went off and watched a fantastic movie that I wouldn't have anticipated watching, and we went and had ice cream at like 11 o'clock at night. I came home and crawled into bed with my wife and was super happy. And why would I be sitting working at night to catch up when I'm never going to get caught up? So I think that's helped me control my stress, is to allow me to have my life and be excited about having passions and hobbies and life and relationships with friends and family, and treating work as something that it is. It's just something that pays the bills. None of us are getting out of this alive, right? We're all going to die, so we may as well work while we're working, but don't be a workaholic. And stop lying, saying that work is my hobby. It's not your hobby. You've lost sight of your hobbies, and you're left with only work. And all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
That's some great advice. Is it when you implemented that in your life? I don't know how long ago you did it, but did you find that it was difficult at first to just shut down at 5:30, regardless of that kind of hard and fast rule, or is it something that you had to work into?
It was very difficult at first because I realized that I was an alcoholic in a sense. I was a workaholic,
right.
And I was turning to work to fill the void of not being happy. I wasn't happy in my first marriage. Nothing against my ex-wife; we get along great, but I knew on the wedding day it was wrong and made a mistake. She and I have stayed friends, and we've raised 2 great kids together. But for me to turn to work as a place to fill the void was me lying to myself. So I've had to reconnect with my passions and reconnect with my hobbies and realize that I want to have good relationships with my children and with my wife and with my friends and with myself. And that's going to come from me unplugging and reconnecting with the rest of my life. So I stay very focused, and when I work, and then when I'm not working, I don't work.
I think that's just such great advice. I got to be honest. I'm probably a workaholic as well, and what I find when I talk to some of my friends that are entrepreneurs. In fact, I'm going to Aruba in a couple weeks, and I have a little bit of anxiety about even going on it because I have trouble going on vacation. I can't. It takes me a week to shut down, and then I have to leave in a couple days. But it's something that I think if you work at it, you mentioned meditation. I meditate now, so that seems to help a lot. But it's difficult, man. It's difficult to shut down at 5:30 and just say, I'm not working anymore in this world that we live in. I mean, it's hard.
It's not actually that difficult because you're a strong person and you've got a strong personality. You just have to choose to put that energy behind something else. So right. My suggestion to you for vacation would be this: no laptop goes with you, period. And
I gotta finish reading your book. Meetings Suck. So how am I gonna do that? Just bring it.
I don't want you reading it on vacation. That would screw up your vacation, and that would piss me off. I want you to go away on vacation with no iPhone, no laptop. No business books, no business magazines. I want you to make a list of some fun shit you want to do when you're on vacation. I want you to drink. I want you to smoke a joint maybe. I want you to relax and have a good time. I want you to go scuba diving and go sailing and go wakeboarding. And I want you to read a book for fun. I just read the book called The Cartel. It was awesome. It was completely fascinating, and it was just about the drug cocaine business in Latin America, and it had nothing to do with work. But right. If you can't go away for 7 days, that's a serious addiction problem that you have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. This. At least I'm willing to admit it, Cameron. So many people aren't willing to admit it, but
So then let's talk offline, and I'll help you through it because okay. I want you to change it. I don't want you to think it's funny. I want you to go and enjoy your vacation. Otherwise, you're going to wake up in a couple of years and you'll realize you don't have a family anymore, or you don't have a life anymore, or you don't want that life filled with regret.
You know what? Maybe I'm gonna have to hire Cameron. But speaking of that, we're actually on with Cameron Herold. He's an author, an entrepreneur, a business growth expert. Obviously, he's someone that can help you in your personal life. I think he's probably gonna end up helping me in my personal life as well. If you'd like some more information about Cameron Herold or his books, Double, Meetings Suck. Again, I love the title, Meetings Suck, and also his latest book, The Miracle Morning. You can find more information about Cameron at CameronHerold.com. You can find him on Twitter. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can also find him on Facebook. You just Google him, and he's out there. You can even see some of his speeches that are out there as well. That's kind of how I first learned about Cameron. Cameron, young people in the workforce today, you always hear people kind of knocking millennials and what have you. But what advice would you give young people in the workforce today on how to grow, whether it be working for an organization or maybe working towards that entrepreneurship lifestyle that they're looking for?
I think millennials are amazing in the workforce. I think it's like every generation has amazing things to add, and they also have amazing things to learn. If you think about the traditionalists that are older than the baby boomers, these are people that grew up in the Depression era or grew up post-Depression and were influenced by, that. They didn't have technology, but they had the ability to learn. They had the ability to learn quickly. They had the ability to build deep relationships. They had the ability to work hard on projects. To not quit, to be tenacious. Those are things we can learn from them. And they can learn about, leveraging technology now. The baby boomers had the ability to, think about causes and work with causes and values. And so I think every group has to learn from every other group. If I was trying to work with millennials, I would tell them to try to teach the technology apps and hacks and trips that they use to the rest of the company, and try to open up with the rest of the business and find out what strengths they have that they can learn from. Because I think there's a bit of a cross-sharing of information that they can learn from each other.
Nice. I like it. Now, efficiency, especially someone like you who are essentially, I don't know if you would consider yourself an efficiency expert, but you're certainly obviously a business expert. I find, and I see this in not only my business sometimes, but I see in other businesses, it's one of the things that a lot of people seem to believe that they're busy, but they're lacking in accomplishment, right? We've all heard that. Can you give the viewers and the listeners maybe a secret strategy or technique that you use with other businesses that allows these businesses to be more efficient?
Yeah, efficiency in my world is all related to focus of where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So if you were just getting in your car and going for a drive without a destination, you'd be driving around aimlessly. That would not be very efficient. But if you thought about where you were going and what path you wanted to take and what you wanted to, listen to on the way and what you wanted to pick up on the way, and if there were any stops along the way, that would be an efficient planning towards your destination. So in the business world, I get people to work on what I call a vivid vision. And I actually cover the vivid vision in both The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs and in my first book, Double Double. The idea with a vivid vision is it's a 4 or 5 page written document that describes your company 3 years in the future in such vivid detail that all of your employees, customers, and suppliers can see where your company is going to be and what it looks like, and then they can figure out the plans to help you make that happen. So efficiency comes from knowing where you're going in such detail that you can build the blueprints and the plans, and then you can hire and outsource the people to start working on the foundational areas and building it from there. And it allows you to say no to the wrong things and say yes to the right things. Efficiency comes first from working on the right stuff and going in the right direction. Efficiency is not about being more focused. You could have 2 guys with teams of people cutting down forests, and one person could be more efficient in cutting down more trees than everybody else, but the guy who climbs the tallest tree and looks around and says, holy shit, we're in the wrong forest, is going to end up being more efficient than the guy who's working faster. And I think people try to work fast and work more efficiently without necessarily knowing where they're going first.
Yeah, it's I wrote down vivid vision. I like that, and so I'm sure it's a pretty intense exercise, huh? When you're describing what your future is going to look like in 3 years.
It is. It's almost like you go in a time machine, which sounds a little bit crazy, but you get out of the office and go sit somewhere where you're inspired, somewhere around nature, and get a notepad and just write down lots of ideas around what your company looks and feels like 3 years from today. So you describe what your customers are saying about you, maybe 3 or 4 bullet points. Describe what the media is writing about you, 3 or 4 more bullet points. You describe what your employees are saying and what your customers are saying. And then you describe every business area. So you describe marketing and IT and finance, but you describe it as if you're standing in your physical company 3 years from now, and you describe what you see and what you feel and what's going on without knowing how it happened. You don't know how it happened because you're 3 years from now. And then you can reverse engineer that vivid vision later to come up with the plans to get you there. So the vivid vision starts with placing yourself in the future and getting enough vivid detail. We learned this concept from an Olympic coach who worked with high-performance athletes to have them visualize themselves performing the event, and knowing that if they could visualize themselves performing when they were performing, it would almost be like they were acting completely on instinct. It's a very simple tool.
As soon as you said that, I was going to ask you where you learned that, because I wrote about the story with Michael Phelps I believe in the 2008 Olympics where his goggles clogged up, and he ended up setting a world record and winning the gold. But his coach had trained him to swim in the dark, which I thought was just such a great story. So when in the middle of the Olympic, or in the middle of the run in the Olympics, the biggest stage in the world, it didn't even faze him because he'd already trained for that. He'd already seen himself doing that, which was just awesome.
Yeah, every high-performance athlete practices visualization. In fact, in the business world, where you see it being used best is home builders or contractors, because the real CEO of a home build is the homeowner.
Right.
They have a vision of what they want the home to look and feel like, and the contractor gets the blueprints to make their vision come true, and then you hand the blueprints to the employees who can make the vision come true without ever having to speak to the CEO or the homeowner. Well, imagine if employees and companies were as clear of what the future of the company looked like as the entrepreneur or the CEO was. If they're that clear, if your employees are as clear as you are, they'll be able to build it, and you won't be the only highly intuitive person in your company anymore. Your intuition is tied to your vision, so share your vision.
I love it. So we've been on with Cameron Herold for just over 35 minutes or so. Again, I've learned about him a few years ago, and I've been kind of pestering him, reaching out to him to try and connect with him. I'm so glad we connected. I have one last question, but again, if you'd like some more information about Cameron Herold or his books, you can find his books pretty much everywhere. You can also find more information about Cameron Herold at CameronHerold.com. His latest book, The Miracle Morning. I just started reading Meetings Suck, and then I've actually heard a lot about Double Double from some friends of mine as well. So I do have some reading to catch up on again. But if you'd like some more information about him, I just love that last section. I wrote down Vivid Vision, I wrote down Time Machine, and I was was in a way kind of thinking of what, I was trying to go through that quick exercise myself. And like I said, offline, we're probably going to end up doing some stuff together anyway, because it sounds like I might need someone like you to help me with my business. But if you could leave our viewers and listeners with one piece of business advice, something that you haven't already given us, you've already given us such great advice. Again, I know you speak all over the world, and CEOs all over the world are really kind of, like you said, kind of clamoring for your time. So I really appreciate everything that you've done so far. One secret tidbit, kernel, whatever it is that can really help people grow in business.
Sure. So it'll be a story that I learned about Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev years ago. We're meeting, trying to solve all the world's problems, and they were finishing their all-day summit meeting. And during the day, somebody would come running in, screaming and yelling and ranting and raving, and Gorbachev would say, and Reagan would hear this over his translation. He would say, "Remember rule number 6." And the guy would smile and laugh and calm down and walk out of the room. And it happened 3 times. And all 3 times, Gorbachev said, "Remember rule number 6." And the person calmed down and laughed and walked away. So Reagan turned to him at the end of the meeting. They'd solved all the world's problems. And he said, "I need to know, what's rule number 6? And Gorbachev laughed and he said, "Rule number 6 is don't take yourself so effing seriously." Reagan laughed and he smiled. And then he said, "So what are the first 5 rules?" And Gorbachev said, "There aren't any." And that's really what my lesson is for everybody is, let's laugh and have fun and have a good time, because this is just what we do to make money. This is not why we exist. This is not why we're here on the planet. It's literally what we do to make money, to give us the free time, to give us the money to be able to enjoy what we want. But let's have a good time along the way. Let's hold hands and have a good time and laugh and enjoy the ride, because this is just what we do to make money.
Well, again, I love it. Folks, again, we've been on with Cameron Herold. He's written 3 books. He's a business growth expert. He's been touted as a business growth guru. He's built businesses, sold businesses you probably heard of, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. He's sought after all over the world. He said he spoke over 274 times. He consults with some of the top CEOs in the world, literally been everywhere. And for me, again, I am really honored and humbled to have him on. So if you'd like some more information about Cameron Herold, you can just go to CameronHerold.com. You can also find his books pretty much everywhere. The information that he's obviously shared with us today is great. I just started reading Meetings Suck, and if you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to change your life, this is the type of guy that you want to be learning from. Again, I watched some videos of his, and that's how I reached out to him. And he's a very, very busy guy, so it took me a little while to get a hold of him. But I'm really honored and humbled to have you here. Cameron, thanks again for being my guest. My name is Mike Alden, and this has been another edition of the Alden Report. All right, guys, how many times have you had days where your underwear just doesn't fit or feel right? I've had many of those days, and it's not just a personal problem, it's everyone's problem. No one likes watching you readjust. Fortunately, Tommy John has the cure. Tommy John, the 21st century men's underwear brand that provides mind-blowing comfort. I know because I discovered them, and I wear them every day. Now imagine this. Super light, breathable fabrics combined with state-of-the-art design for a fit so perfect, it's almost like wearing nothing at all, and it's impossible to get a wedgie. They even have this patented horizontal quick draw fly that'll revolutionize the way you go to the bathroom. So for a truly unbelievable undergarment experience, visit TommyJohn.com and enter Alden, ALDEN, at checkout and receive 20% off your entire first order. That's ALDEN, and receive 20% off your entire first order. Guys, all of their underwear is backed by their best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee, so you really have nothing to lose. Visit TommyJohn.com.